Hello and welcome to this time of gathering. We honor the place that we come together as sacred land, indigenous territory that we honor and acknowledge. For today, for yesterday, and for all that is to come, we give thanks to be here. So let us center ourselves, deep breathe into this moment. Give thanks to the one that calls us as a collective and as individuals, as part of the heart of all life, the everything of the universe. Amen. I'm going to share a story this morning, which is interwoven with Psalm 142, and it is a story of love and loss, death, endings, beginnings, intimacy, and art. So first I'll read Psalm 142 from the Iona Worship Abbey book. With all my voice I cry to you, God. With all my voice I entreat you. I pour out my complaint before you. I tell you all my distress. When my spirit faints within me, you, O God, know my path. On the way where I shall walk, they have hidden a snare to trap me. I look on my right and see there is no one who takes my part. I have lost all means of escape. There is no one who cares for my life. I cry to you, O God. I have said you are my refuge, all I have in the land of the living. Listen, then, to my cry. For I am in the depths of distress. Rescue me from those who pursue me, for they are too strong for me. Bring my soul out of this prison, and then I shall praise your name. Around me the just will gather, because of your goodness to me. Amen. With all my voice I cry to you, God. With all my voice I entreat you. I pour out my complaint before you. I tell you all my distress. Her eyes grew weak as the window light faded with the dusk. She had leaned over her project for hours, suffering through cramped hands and a stomach now empty of food. Colors of ivory and cantaloupe draped across her knee as she busied to finish the shawl laying in her lap. Her only concern, would she finish it on time? As soon as she found out that her spiritual mentor, a sister, a friend, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and had quickly reached a terminal stage, she began to knit. Knitting had become her refuge, her quiet, her time with God, since she had lost both her job and her marriage. When my spirit faints within me, you, O God, know my path. On the way where I shall walk, they have hidden a snare to trap me. The ivory orange wool felt perfect. The feel of it was soft and consuming. She knew, though ever so quiet was the voice that spoke, that she may not complete the shawl before the death of her friend. But that would not discourage her from the task. The shawl had become so much more than a gift. It was also a giving that she experienced in creating it. Every stitch brought her close to something, although too difficult to understand, deeply meaningful. The shawl was on its own journey, and she was invited along. Death would not get in the way. There had been too many of them, too many deaths of the heart. I look on my right and see there is no one who takes my part. I have lost all means of escape. There is no one who cares for my life. After she was forced to leave the one job she felt destined to, she thought surely her heart would break. But when her marriage crumbled into nothingness around her, it was as if her life was no longer her own. The friends and colleagues she once had drifted away. The concerned calls slowed to a trickle. People just could not comprehend the loss of two such significant things. People did not want to be in relationship with someone whose circumstances were so vulnerable. It was too hard to look at, too easy to maybe see themselves. What did she have left? I cry to you, O God. I have said, you are my refuge, all I have in the land of the living. Walking into the small chapel on the grounds of her spiritual mentor's home, she found a seat near the back and slid into the pew. She nestled into the far edge, clutching the soft wool package in her hands. It is folded into a perfect rectangle. She had spent all morning folding and refolding till she was satisfied with its shape. She enjoyed touching it, knowing that soon it would no longer be hers. And the memorial service began. Listen then to my cry, for I am in the depth of distress. Rescue me from those who pursue me, for they are too strong for me. Soon after the service is over, many people leave the chapel and head towards the grounds. The casket has been left inside alone. Some who have stayed back go toward it. They rest their hands on its wood. Some lay their cheek down upon it, letting the tears drip into its cover. Others whisper and bow their heads. From the back of the pew she comes, carrying the shawl. She walks toward the casket, her hands playing with its edges. Her eyes have blurred and her cheeks begin to burn in the wet salt tears. The one person who did not judge or reject or fear her was gone. How utterly alone she was. All her losses balled up inside her began to untangle. She was coming undone and became scared. Nearing the casket, she was surprised to find a child sitting beside it, her hand resting on its lid. She was my aunt, the little girl said. I'm so afraid I will forget her. The shawl leaves her hands and falls onto the ground, and the little girl hurries over to pick it up. Together they lift it, stopping to look at one another, and then place it on the casket. The shawl rolls open, and together they spread it over the top of the casket as if preparing for a banquet. The light from the stained window behind casts strands of afternoon sun upon them. The little girl places a piece of the shawl softness to her face and inhales. Her eyes close, and she becomes still. Carefully, the corners of the shawl are removed from the casket and wrapped around the shoulders and body of the little girl. The gentleness of the ivory and cantaloupe wool affirm her innocence. Now you will not forget your aunt. I made this just for her so she would know how much I love her and so that I would not forget. When you wrap it around yourself, you will remember how much she loves you, and you will remember that you are not alone. Your aunt was like an angel on earth to me, and you have reminded me that there are still many angels to meet. She paused only for a moment, stroked lightly the little girl's cheek, and turned to walk down the chapel aisle that led out into the world. Bring my soul out of this prison, and then I shall praise your name. Around me the just will gather because of your goodness to me. Amen. May you find the blessing of the deep Christ light that resides in all life. May you feel it within yourself, and may your loved ones feel the energy that exudes from you. May you know this blessing, that God holds all things, all life, all of you, wherever you are and wherever you go. Namaste.